Hello, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me and your host of How I Came Up. This week, we have Robert Lowery. He is a life and leadership coach and the founder of the RL Experience podcast. I can't wait for you to hear his story. Now let's get to it. This is How I Came Up.
So my name is Rob Lowery, and I was born and raised in Niagara Falls, New York. I went to Harriet Abbott Elementary School and then worked my way up from LaSalle Middle School to LaSalle Senior High School, located in Niagara Falls, New York. I would describe my childhood as grounded in love, support, but just like any childhood, you have things that you're trying to work through. And I would say my childhood was a mixture of that love, that support, but most importantly, it was grounded in consistency throughout my childhood. I would say that my grandmother was really the rock of the family, and she introduced me to God. She introduced me to church and everything else. And so my mom wasn't really involved in church, and so my grandmother I would voluntarily go with my grandmother to church, and I was intrigued by being involved in spirituality and so forth. And so I would say that my biggest struggle during my childhood was identity. And how I described that identity was based off of the options that I believe I had at that time. And it was like my friends were interested in athletics, and then I had friends who wanted to be rappers, and then you have the negative side of that, of those who want to sell drugs. And at that time, I was really looking for, where do I really fit into this? And so that it made me internalize a lot of my expressions of like, okay, where do I go? Where do I fit in? How do I contribute to this world? And so I found myself late at night getting this habit of watching C-SPAN because I was so intrigued by how the government worked. And so eventually I had a thought of actually getting involved in politics because I was so intrigued by it. But what I found during my childhood is that I kind of enclosed or internalized that expression because at that time I didn't have anyone else that I can actually share that information with. So while some of my friends were talking about sports and some of my friends were talking about, getting into music, I just didn't know where I fit in. And so the identity that I was kind of struggling with kind of enclosed me and pushed me into the personality of being an introvert. And so I struggled with that until my fourth grade, where I had a teacher who kind of tapped into my potential, allowed me to understand who I was, and really develop my leadership skills, which kind of like started from that point in my life. My college years, I had a goal to want to aspire to be an elementary education teacher. And that was inspired by my fourth grade teacher, who really showed me what a teacher was about, tapping into young people. So since fourth grade all the way to getting into college at Buffalo State College, I wanted to be a teacher. It was 3 years in, and I went to do an observation at a Buffalo public school. This teacher, she was awesome. But one of the things that I identified during that observation was the teacher itself was limited to some of the things that she could do with the students. And what I mean by that is there were students who didn't have, the proper clothing on. They didn't have certain things that I identified. And because the teacher was really confined to making sure teaching the instructions, all the other things that spilled into the classroom was not being addressed. And like I said, this was a great teacher, but it sparked the interest in me that I think I could make a difference outside of the classroom. And so I decided to change my major. The only way I can get a degree was getting a sociology degree, to get out of college to say I did something. But I was determined to start a community center when I graduated from high school. And so that was kind of my goal. I believe that I had a gift to helping young people as well as adults, and tapping into their potential.
This is all new for you this morning. One Western New Yorker goes above and beyond, investing in the future of others he doesn't even know. Robert Lowery is the man behind that support, helping young Western New Yorkers in our community who are blazing their own paths as they become small business owners at young ages.
I definitely would like to share my role in the community because I believe our community is very important, which I give a lot of my time to various organizations. One of my roles that I have is serving as a trustee chairman for True Bethel Baptist Church, one of the largest African American churches in the city of Buffalo, where our pastor is Darius G. Pridgeon. I would say one of the things that I've learned about being in a leadership role as a church, it is actually one of my first leaderships in the church. I went to church as a child, but I didn't grow up in church. So learning church culture was something new to me. And so I'm learning each and every day. I also serve in different capacities. I'm the vice president of the Cheektowaga Development Corporation. I also serve on the Community of Giving Legacy Initiative, part of the Community Foundation, focusing on philanthropy. I also am a board member of the Resource Council of Western New York, the former YMCA at East Ferry, and I serve on multiple other boards, just really making sure that I contribute my talent, my treasure, and my time to our community and just giving back. And so although I left the nonprofit world, I also want to contribute to those missions that they have for the community. I did work for a nonprofit organization for 15 years, and I remember just wanting to help young people. But what inspired me during my path of growth in the nonprofit is my leadership ability. And I talked about that even in fourth grade, is I recognized that although I had this introvert personality, I kind of was this reserved kid, I was this reserved adult, but there was a passion that I recognized that I needed to advocate for young people and families as well. And so throughout my life, I basically took my passion that I had and got outside of myself. And that means that something is bigger than me. And so although I did not open that community center, I believe for those 15 years and plus, I was able to impact young people as well as adults during my time and making change, making impact, and really tapping into those things that I may not have felt I had in my childhood growing up. And so that was pretty much where I got that drive from.
Hello everyone, I am Robert Lowery, and I just want to thank you for checking out my channel. I'm a life and leadership coach providing multiple videos a week about personal and leadership development, sharing tips and resources and best practices, and creating a space for all of us is my ultimate goal.
Where I am today, currently, I started my own business about 4 years ago, and really focusing on managing nonprofit and faith-based organizations, as well as life and leadership coach. And I focus on transformation coaching, and which means is that we look at really the deep diving issues of how to change people from the inside out. Many people are looking for a fast fix in life. Like if I just change my behavior, if I just change these habits, I'm going to change my life. And I believe that you have to go deeper to your beliefs, to your attitudes, to your values. What is your character? And really dig into deep of how you can change your life from the inside. And I think it's that healing process And I think it helped me. And I think when I work with clients, my goal is to allow them to find the answers within themselves. And I think that's important. And I think throughout all of my life, I recognized I was a life coach. And not because I live a perfect life, but because I'm able to get up each and every day, start back over again, and work to find myself in a better place, always reaching and thriving to be the best person I could be, and learning from my life lessons. And I think that's an important piece.
Okay, so it's finally here, man. I'm so excited right now. Listen, like you can have this vision and you keep sowing into that vision for 3 years and then boom, it's here. That's how excited I am right now. So I can't wait to show you. Hold on. So today is the day I received the first copy of my physical book, man. This is exciting because for 3 years I've been working on this, and to actually get the physical book in my hands today.
Yeah, I believe mentorship is very important. I wrote a book about a year and a half ago about being an effective mentor. And I started the process of writing this going in at it that I didn't really have strong male mentors in my life. And I grew up in a single parent household. My mom, she was a working mom. She really made sure that we had a roof over our head, food on the table, me and my younger sister. And my dad, who relocated to Atlanta, Georgia at that time, wasn't really involved. And so I was kind of missing that piece of having that man in my life to really kind of guide me and give me that perspective that I needed. And so writing this book, I started off with understanding that I did have mentors. It wasn't what I would call that's my mentor. I didn't say that word, but there was those individuals who poured into me and showed me different things. So I mentioned my fourth grade teacher, and the second person that really guided me and gave me a different perspective was my guidance counselor, Mr. Bass. He encouraged me to actually go to this college fair. And I talk about this because the reason why I talk about this a lot is how simple this was. He encouraged me to go to a college fair in Buffalo, New York. And I went to this college fair, and at the time I had no desire to go to college. It was just not on my list to do. I was struggling, about 67 average. Like I said, no interest of really graduating from high school. I went to this college fair, and it was the first time in my life that I would see Black and brown people talking about where they wanted to go. They were dressed up, they were, ties and, lovely. It was just a vision that I'd never seen before, image that I'd never seen before. And I remember going on the bus ride home from that college fair, being inspired. I think this is possible. And I say that because of how simple our actions could be in life by helping somebody else. The smallest things that we may take for granted by just simply going on a college fair, how it could basically change the trajectory of someone else's life. I think I've become successful by my love for people. I think that in the beginning stages of my career, I've always was interested in things outside of my 9 to 5. And I would willingly go to places where I wasn't looking for anything but to learn. And what I mean by that is I would find myself volunteering for different groups, organizations, just because I had an interest. I remember at my church, I volunteered to be part of the audiovisual team. I had some sparkling interest of learning about how all the equipment worked. And so I learned. But one of the things about learning and volunteering your time, is you get trained for free. There's so much information, there's so much skill set that you can learn in the process. So I was learning how to do switchboards and being in charge of certain things that I probably would look on paper that I wasn't qualified, but I was able to learn, and people took the time to show me that. And throughout all of my life, I've used that same strategy, that if you want to find different things out of life, go to it. So even I found myself going to Toastmasters a few times and learning what the right protocol is for meetings and so forth, and how to write a speech. Those things that sometimes you feel like you don't have time to do, but I found in the process, it wasn't, in that moment, I didn't understand it, but it was more or less like, this is what you need to do to invest in yourself. You have to go out and find the information. You got to tap into the people who know what they're doing. So going back to the original question of, maybe how did I become successful? I think success is very subjective. My success is based off of my growth. I used to believe, because when you come from nothing, you start believing that it's about money. So my first chance of getting some money was to go buy things, to consume things, to show people I had it. I think now I understand in this process is success is really about growth, staying in the learning seat of life, that there's always something that I can learn. I'm learning at this stage of my life of like all the things that I need to unlearn, what I thought was a man, what I thought I had to do. But that's the process of life. You live and you learn. And I believe that you grow, you can change, that there's abilities for you to learn from other people. And I believe when you reach out to people in your business, are you doing it just because you're trying to get a come up? Are you doing it because you're trying to make an impact? And when you make connections from network events, my goal is I'm not asking for anything. I want to figure out who I can learn from and grow from. And I think those make the relationships genuine, and not always trying to figure out how you can win over somebody and strategize over them. But are you really doing it for the right reasons and from the right place? I don't have any biological kids, but I do have a covenant son. His name is Diallo. He's 22 years old and just graduated from Adai College. And so I really believe God has put me in his life to not only help him, but to help me as well. I was having a conversation with him about a month ago when he graduated from college, and sitting down as a family, him, his mom, and his fiance, and just really looking at the moment of all the time pouring in conversation after conversation. And so one of the things that I really admired about our relationship is his willingness to be himself, but also having those down and honest conversations. And so even when it comes to spirituality, when it comes to education, realizing that the things that I may not have had when I was a kid, I wanted to make sure that I had those tough conversations. So when we had conversations about spirituality, we had conversations about education and sorts of other things, being a guidance to other people. And I think family is crucial. I think family not only needs to be about love, but it needs to be about transparency, having conversations about money, all the things that I didn't have. Like, we didn't have conversations about money, how to save, how to make sure you have life insurance, and so forth. Those conversations is what I look forward to having in the family. I would say what's next for me is quite a lot of things. I'm continuing my process of healing. And what I mean by healing, I believe healing is a long life process that we're continuing evolving and learning from our past and just developing from that point. I'm learning to one is just to have fun and balance, to get out and try new things. The other piece, as far as professionally, I'm getting ready to release a new book, which is titled "How." Pretty much helping nonprofit employees helping them avoid burnout. And just coming from the nonprofit sector, I left there being burned out, really unhealed. And so kind of my goal is to help other people who are still in the nonprofit sector to kind of help them and having that life balance. I also host a podcast called Empower 716. And the goal of Empower 716 is to really share the stories of business owners, entrepreneurs, side hustlers, and those career shifters, pretty much sharing their story, because I believe your story can help somebody else. And so, especially the challenges of people of color in the small business world and the business world overall, the challenges, the barriers, and sometimes we can feel like we're alone at it. And I know I did. And so when I was having conversations with individuals around Western New York and across the country, I was like, these are some great stories that I think not only I left inspired. And so I wanted to create a platform where just not your typical podcast of talking about opinions and views, but what can uplift someone else and may inspire someone else. And so inviting people to that space to share their entrepreneurial journey, and with the goal of helping other people. And that's really my end game in life, which is kind of like my mission statement, is empowering other people to help them realize their confidence, helping them build their confidence so that they could be the best person they could be in life. And that's pretty much my end game, is how I can help other people. The podcast actually airs on LinkedIn, Facebook, and YouTube. And you can find us on Mondays at 5 p.m. We're going to be starting back up in November of 2022. And so that's that. And I'm also always available for coaching or management or professional development. My email is robertlowry@rlexperience.com. This is Rob Lowry, and this is how I came up.
Hello, this is Sam Hill from Success in Me. We are excited to announce Season 4 of How I Came Up will air this November. We have educators, entertainers, and entrepreneurs this season. We can't wait to share their stories. Now let's get to it. This is how I came up.